We were just always doing drugs or selling them. And I was at the point where I was staying up one night and then another night. I had physical bottoms, I had spiritual bottoms. I had been in and out of jail already a few times. So basically, I think when I went to jail the first time, I had done time for selling ecstasy. I had around 60 credits. So I came back. Within days, I was in an armed robbery within 4 days. And 25 years later, or 26 years later, suicide, and he killed 2 other people too. So he killed that person, he killed his ex, he killed the other person, then he killed himself. I think, at least in my business of as a creator and a musician and rapper, and people really judge you based on your life experience. You can't just say, just stop. You have to stop me.
Yeah.
I will not stop. I'm a savage.
Welcome back to another episode of Candid Minds with Dr. T and friends. I'm here with my good friend Rami Matan Even-Esh, better known as Kosha Dillz. You might know him from the MTV show Wild and Out, also his upcoming documentary, Bring the Family Home. He's doing great work. We're excited to have you on the show. Thank you for being here.
Good to be here. What's going on?
Awesome. Yeah, I'm really excited.
All the way in the island.
That's right. You came to Long Island.
I know.
So
I'm an island boy.
Appreciate that. No, it's great to have you, and I'm glad you're on the show. We really have been following you for quite some time, doing a lot of great work, being an advocate, spreading your authentic self and being genuine with your work, which is huge. And I appreciate you coming here to be vulnerable and share a little bit about what you've been through and how you got here. Certainly not easy. It takes courage, so I salute you for that.
Thank you, man.
And one of the things we talked about earlier on before the show was your sobriety. And you've celebrated how many years now?
21.
Incredible. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
I know for many of our listeners that's not easy. They take it one day at a time. Some people are celebrating one day of sobriety. Some people aren't even ready yet to pursue sobriety. Yeah. And some people like yourself have years.
They're dipping the toes. Dipping the toes, It's okay, though. Dip your toes, watch a video. You know what I mean? Seriously.
No, it's true.
It's a journey. Most people that get sober, they think about getting sober way before they get sober, And that's kind of how you have to do it. No one said, and then it just happens, because you're always putting it off one more day.
For sure. Where were you 21 years ago, though? How did you decide to finally take that step, and what was that like for you?
I always have spots that sort of come back to me, but I do remember being at my buddy Sean's house. He was the Mad Fly Rabbi, Sean, probably the least Jewish guy of the Jewish guys I know. We were just always doing drugs or selling them. And I was at the point where I was staying up one night and then another night. And at this point, I think I had physical bottoms, I had spiritual bottoms. I had been in and out of jail already a few times. And that was me getting ready to, do more. I was selling cemetery plots door to door. And my dream was to sell people cocaine and then also a cemetery plot. I'm I'll give you life and then I'll take it from you. I was really I thought it was so funny in such a dark way. And it was kind of funny. It's kind of, you're wow, man, you were killing it. You were selling cemetery plots. And then I just remember going to his house, Sean's house, and saying, wow, I either need to get arrested or go back to meetings. And then I ended up getting arrested and then ended up going to those things too. But I realized that I was introduced to 12-step because I had to get meeting lists signed because I was on probation or parole for other charges along the way. So when I really got finally sober, I was on probation already from another offense and being incarcerated a year and a half earlier. So it was sort of you get what you wish for on occasion, eventually.
How long were you using at that point?
I would say, I first drank, I think at 12, just at a friend's house, my friend Robbie's house, who, R.I.P. He didn't die from addiction, but it was cancer, I remember. And then it was a spurt from Robbie's house to 15. and it was like a bridge party at my school. It was very just intense. It was like the first time I drank, I think I was like, I blacked out and was like urinated on or something like that. Like I was like the guy that they talked about in the school the next day in high school. And I remember how that made me feel. And I'm like, oh my God, that's so amazing. This was such a good idea. And people just nodded their head and like, oh, you're crazy. And I loved the attention. So I kind of used that. But then I really got into it summer of like 18 and on, 17, 18 and on. So it was a short stint, 5, 6 years, you would say, of like steady use, but really in and out, steady use from age 20 to, about 23. Because I got arrested I got sober when I was 22, turning 23 in July 30th, 2004. So, but at that point, when you're using drugs and mixing everything and, once you get arrested, it's a lot easier to get sober if you get arrested because you're kind of like forced to stop or else you'll just go to prison. And drug laws were really intense, like, in New Jersey at that time. I feel like now you could just do anything you want and not get in trouble for it. So people just use drugs openly, crazy, not getting arrested. But back then, they arrested you.
Sure. Did you ever try to figure out why you were using or do the work and like the therapy to better understand yourself and see if you're using to silence the pain or treat something or cope with something?
Yeah. I think for the first, I don't know how I found this therapist, but I went to this therapist, Teresa, for about 8 years when I lived in for 8. This was like a year. When I got sober, I started seeing, I was in a rehab, and then you see people, and then I was like in a 3-quarter house that was like connected to it, and I was facing a lot of time because I had already done time, and I was in a sting operation. So like first going to therapy, it was sort of like you kind of had to do it because by the time court comes around, like you don't know, in that first year. And then I just added it on, another person, and I did a lot of work in that area. And I would say that I figured out that, recovery is a solution to addiction and alcoholism, but while you're using, whatever substance you're using is the solution to your problem that you have.
100%.
So if I'm feeling lonely in my loneliness and like when I'm describing to you, someone told me I got pissed on, and everyone looked at me in school and smiled, and I'm like, oh, this is what I'm supposed to do, Similar, let's move that to today, to like social media addiction, and you're like, I'm at a protest and I'm harassing people and trolling people in real life, or attacking someone and doing this, and those videos get a lot of engagement. That's like a new needle, right? It's like a new form of intense.
Yeah, you just want to go viral.
It's a dopamine, a dopamine fix. You know what I mean? And people listen. Like that is a whole separate issue. But just to keep it on drugs and addiction, alcohol and drugs were the solution to me not feeling like I was a center of attention. So like if I didn't have any power, comfortability to speak to people, by selling drugs, like everyone all of a sudden wants to speak to me because I'm selling drugs, something they want. And all of a sudden, even though you might disagree on every topic about life, that was it, and that was just something you did. Because it wasn't like I was born in a gutter. I needed to sell drugs to survive and make money to help a family. It wasn't. Right. There was no authenticity to it or any like.
But it did get you to be seen.
Right.
And that's huge. What's interesting is a lot of the people not patients and individuals that I talk to about substance use feel like they can't pursue sobriety because they're dealing with so many things in their life. And the only way for them to cope is to use. And a lot of times they say, well, once all that goes away, I can consider sobriety. But right now, you don't get it. If you were a single mom with 3 jobs, you would get it. If you were homeless, you would get it. If you were in an abusive relationship, you would get it. What do you say to people that feel they need to use to deal with whatever is going on in their life and sobriety is not an option?
Well, it's sort of an excuse. There's no, for me, I'll just speak for myself. Like I was like, oh, I'm going to do this and oh, I'm going to do that. My dream was to go and finish school, finish all my credits, and then come back and then get sober. So basically, I think when I went to jail the first time, I had done time for selling ecstasy. Like I had like around 60 credits. So I came back. Within like days, I was like in an armed robbery, like within like 4 days. And like it was like a big one. And these people were like, it was really uncomfortable, like to see what happened to the people that were robbing us and everyone. And I just remember I was like getting back into school and started to like dodge, your probation, you have to beat a urine test. It's like it becomes a whole thing. You start buying these like magical pills. You got to take 6 of them. It just becomes you chugging a gallon of water all of a sudden to like pee water. You become like addicted to this new lifestyle of like, how do I manage what I'm doing? And this is like a way to manage it. So I go, eventually I get a girlfriend, and then I just stop drinking. So I try to figure out solutions without going, because I just really believe that I'll be fine if I just do this. If I just get a girlfriend, I'll be okay. If I just drink, I'll be okay. If I just do drugs and don't drink, I'll be okay. So you're navigating this, and I get the girlfriend. I navigate that for like a year. And then I realized, by the end of it all, I realized that like you're headed downhill, and eventually you're gonna have to face it, and you're just trying to push it off in any way. And the reality is, like, you think, oh, I have a job, I need to do my job. My dream was, like I said, to finish school. So I got to 110 credits.
Nice.
And then I got arrested in a sting operation. But like, it was like really like, I remember just like trying to like cheat. I cheated on and by the time I got sober and came back, I was like studying and like looking on other people's tests, and they had like the wrong answer, but I was so used to cheating. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, the fuck? Like, you know what I mean? And that's it. And you're like, boom, it's done. Like, let's say you're in a relationship, right? And you're like, oh, but I just wanted to get through the holidays. I just wanted to do Valentine's Day. Like, if you're going to break up, why would you want to do Christmas, Hanukkah, and Valentine's Day? Like, It's over. You know what I'm saying? So most things are over before, and we just sort of, it's really hard to be adult and go, shh. That's no good, And it takes a lot of courage to do that, because recovery comes at a consequence. People don't walk into recovery and are like, oh, yeah, I was just doing a little thing and I decided to stop. They're like, no, I was kicked out of my house. I was arrested. I was on the cover of the local newspaper. My entire life is unfolded in front of not just me, but everyone. I had nowhere else to go. Like everyone, I remember my brother being like, you have ruined this entire family. And I was like, damn. I was like, that was her.
How many siblings are you guys?
I got 2.
Okay.
I got 2 bros. Yep. And
they say rock bottom is when people do their best work when it comes to recovery. If someone hits rock bottom, so long as they still have something going for them, it's hard to do the work. But when you hit rock bottom, it suddenly becomes the only thing you could work on. Yeah,
it's sort of like you don't know what's on the other side, the light at the end of the tunnel. There's so many expressions for it. Mm-hmm. But like if you're like doom scrolling and be like, oh my God, you found these videos, like you're probably, if you're like normal people don't start looking like, how do I stop opiate abuse? They're like, how can I do this and do that? And, you start doom scrolling in like YouTube things and you start looking and finding these videos. And I'm like, dude, if you're doing that, like you're gonna most likely you have an issue, Yeah,
definitely.
It's always like if you get out of like a crazy relationship and then they have an entire thing, it's like how to get back your ex in 3 easy steps. It's like how to get sober without going to rehab or doing this. And you're like, dude, yeah, it's, you can't just say just stop. You have to stop me.
Yeah.
I will not stop. I'm a savage.
So what are your thoughts on relapse then? A lot of people take relapsing very hard and see it as a complete setback. Personally, I think relapse is a part of the journey. And
it's not part of every journey, because if I was to say, okay, I was introduced to 12-step stuff, like I got arrested when I was 18. So then when I got caught and I hid it from my parents, and then like I started going to meetings, then I got arrested when I was 19. Then I was like on bail for a year. Then I went to jail. Then I came out. Then I was like going to probation. Then I was going to meetings again. So like I said, you might think you relapse. If you're relapsing, I don't think you've really started. It might be a controversial take, like a slip. It's like, oh, I had a slip. If you're in the room and you're still trying to figure out how to smoke weed, or you're trying to figure out how to do something. So for me, I was like, let me get a girlfriend. Let me just drink and sell drugs. Let me just sell drugs and not drink. Let me just do drugs and not drink. Let me figure out this. Let me just try to smoke weed, or let me just try to drink. And let me just do blow when my girlfriend goes out of town. And but when she left me, because you have no God in your life without any sort of higher power to whatever degree that is. Like when I got sober, I knew that God was sort of like flashing in between me, because I ran from police with over a half ounce of cocaine in my pocket, and I was in handcuffs, and they arrested me, and I threw the small amount of drugs away and kept the larger amount of drugs on me. And undercover cop wrestled me down, and I was in handcuffs, and I got it out of my pocket, and it dropped in front of school, and they never found it, and I only got arrested for a small amount of drugs, and I was like, oh yeah, God gave me a shot, and the chances of that happening are so small. So there needs to be something that really moves you. When I wasn't not entirely ready, so I just dibbled and dabbled, and if you dip your toes into, have you ever done an ice bath?
Yeah.
Yeah, you ever try to dip your toes in an ice bath?
I usually run in.
You have to, if you don't go all the way in, you'll be like,
No,
you know, that's it.
Definitely don't do that.
You have to go shoulders down,
Fully,
all the way, fully submerged.
And you got to commit.
You have to do it, and then that's it, and that's how you do an ice bath.
Start breathing. Try to breathe through it.
Yeah, and it's really extremely painful and discomforting, but it's actually more painful to dip your toes in. So when someone says, "I relapse," I'm like, maybe you didn't really start, you know, and maybe there, like for every person that relapses, there's a guarantee that there was no sort of stability or system set up for them to succeed. It wasn't like you were in touch with all of us every day talking, hey man, calling you. You like stop calling, you literally distance yourself, and that's the psychology of the mind of like people like, you don't really want to do this. You don't really want to be with her. You don't really want to be in a relationship. You don't really want this job.
Or you're just not ready yet.
Exactly. You're not ready for that. So you're looking for whatever excuse, and that's your excuse.
What's been your secret to success? 21 years of sobriety is not easy. A lot of people, I'm sure, look up to you now hearing that. What advice would you have for them to deal with cravings and stay committed?
It's just like, I don't do that anymore. Like, that's literally a thing. But like I said, like, I lost a desire. By the time I was so beaten, like, I can't really. Have you ever been like really knocked out? Like, I've been like beaten bloody, and just like my teeth were knocked out, and I mean, like, that's really what this disease is. Like, you know, it's and I would say, as much as addiction is more like not a disease, it's more like a cancer. It starts out here in the body, right, as a cancer does, like in your liver, and then like you take it out and you give chemotherapy, and then it reappears in another part. So I heard a guy once say it's like a pop-up blocker, and you have to really be aware and to like really believe in that. Oh, you know, it was just this. Like, no, I know like there are certain tendencies I have that are totally unrelated to, you know, drugs and alcohol, the 20 years. And I've just seen it. Like, and it pops up in different areas of my life, but I've seen other people that weren't ready, and they got successful lives, and they got successful this, and they got this, and they got a job. But in reality, I knew how much pain they were going in, and now they're dead. Wow. And it's like, it took 20 years, you know, you know, still committing suicide, people still getting killed, murdered. Like, that's what happened to everyone I knew.
It's like playing whack-a-mole. You know whack-a-mole? Where
Yeah.
you keep hitting it and it keeps popping up?
Exactly. It's a whack-a-mole. Back when I started, someone once called it a pop-up blocker when we used to have to pay on the computer for pop-up blockers and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And you're like, bloop, bloop, bloop. And that's how I really believe in it. Like, the secret is, and I'm really grateful for my brothers, and I was a wrestler. It was really like, don't be a bitch. Like, I can't, and I know that might be like sound like rough languages, but like, if you see ice cold water and it's 30 degrees and people are like doing this and this is a thing, like, you're supposed to jump all the way in.
No, you're
and then when I jumped all the way in and I started jumping all the way in, I say, oh, I know, this is how I do this. You just say, oh, I love this. I love this shit, and I jump in. And really, it's service to other people. It's like there's an expression that says you can't keep what you have unless you like share the information, or keep what you have unless you give it away. And this is a huge. You see people all the time, that have lots of money, right? And there's certain people that have lots of money, and they don't give the money away to charitable causes. And then if you're ever like in the street and stuff, sometimes being homeless people, they have nothing, but they get $1 and they give $1 too, if you like, I really believe that like there is an amazing way to that all the success. You can make $500,000 a year, you can make $200,000 a year, you can make $50,000 a year. We're all gonna go to Dunkin'. Doesn't, you know what I'm saying? There's not like a huge thing. You still take the train. You take the LIRR. You still take New Jersey Transit. You know what I mean? Only maybe you get $10 million. You'll be like, all right, I'm just taking a car service. Like, I want a nice car, but maybe you still want to take the train. So the point being is that like the life isn't that much different, but the person who really receives the most, who really gets what it is by giving. You know what I mean? And giving doesn't have to be $1,000 to think. It's better off spent if you gave, $10, $20, 10 people that need it or something like that. And you're just always in a mind state of giving. For me, that service is like the life hack of recovery. So, very simple things. And for my family, the biggest thing we ever valued was like just kind of hard work. We come from this like, I don't know if it's like the Jewish thing or everything, but just really like respecting like the grunt and the grind and being
hustling.
Like, yeah, and just like physical labor and like really being like part of the thing. Like, there's just, the simple soul fulfilling thing of like shoveling the snow in your driveway or off your steps. And you're like, I'm not paying someone to do this. Doing these little things that really make you feel wholesome,
Also, grinding builds you as a person. Right?
Yes, rejection, grinding, people saying no, but like I said, the secret ultimately is you have to show up, and you have to be giving to others, because like if someone's like, the level of 21 years, it's the same wow at 15 years. It was the same wow at 10 years. 10 years is like, oh my God, 10 years, a whole decade. Then you get 2 decades, you get 3 decades. What's the wow? Like, what is the difference in the wow?
Well, I mean, every day is a milestone for a lot of people, right?
Because that's what it is. The one thing is when you get the worst news in the world and your parents die in a car crash or something like that, and it says, are you going to get high or not? And it's just like, this is not what I do, because it's a good excuse, right? You got to go get. And I even knew people that were so sick that they used to like rebuild their story, because they thought it was like the disease is like, it reappears. And like I said, it's like a cancer. Cancer, we kill it, it's gone, we're doing great, we're on this cloud, and then it comes back, and it's like, well, now you're a media star, but if you use and you come back, and that's a great press story, that would be amazing. And you're like, no, dude, the joy of addiction, recovery, is to live a long, boring life. Very boring, mundane. There's beauty in the mundane. Mac Miller went out, he was like 26, 2018 he died, I think, overdosed, and I remember I had to write an article about it, and it was like, I would have preferred if Mac Miller was like an unsuccessful guy that just grew to the age of like, 84 or something, you know what I mean? And so would the rest of the people in his life, but addiction steals it from you, and other people are like, you died a legend, and you see how many people I know that died from addiction, and then you see the obituaries and things where they honor them for like sports, wrestling, and I'm just thinking about wrestling because we talked about it, but like they don't even mention that he died. People are so ashamed of addiction. the shame level is crazy. I'm like, how you gonna? The guy died at 33. You're not gonna. You're just gonna say he just died. You know, you're gonna say why. It's like doing a disservice to everyone that's there. Like, and you know, it's a difficult thing to cope with. So,
well, we see that with all mental health issues.
Yeah,
right? We lost an NFL player last week to mental health issues and a suicide. And it's still it's. I don't know if it's getting the attention it deserves. It deserves a lot more attention than it's getting. But people seem to be more interested in what it means for football rather than the fact that we have a huge.
He was like 24, right?
I think so. I don't know how old he was.
What team was he on?
I don't even remember.
Don't you know? Okay. It's just funny you say that. I had a teammate that I sold drugs with and did drugs with in like college, and then he became then he kind of like got out. He got a regular job. And he was in public service, you know, and then he was like, took 20-some years. I remember when I was with him and we were like in the street and stuff, and I'm like, man, something bad's gonna happen to this dude. And nothing bad happened to him. And nothing bad happened to him. And nothing bad happened to him. And 25 years later, or 26 years later, suicide, and he killed 2 other people too. So he killed that person, he killed his ex, he killed the other person, and then he killed himself. So he ruined his life, their life, that life, all lives around him, ruined thousands of lives.
Sure.
But like all because he didn't get help. And I'm telling you, bro, when I got sober, like in the first year, I was like, my roommate, he died from heroin. But we were in like a 3/4. We were in like in, you know, like everyone was on parole. Like, you know, these guys were heroin addicts. So, you know, he got used. And that was like my first thing. And I'm like, wow. That was the first guy I knew that died from, and then I can't even tell you, but everybody.
Yeah.
Everybody eventually gets you.
So we seem to, it's easy to identify the negative consequences of substance use and addiction, but it's also shaped you in many ways, right? It made you the person you are today. It's a significant part of your life, your identity. Are you able to reflect on it and extract something positive that came from your entire experience of using and achieving sobriety?
I felt like that's a really good question. Was there anything? Well, first, you know, I think at least in my business of like as a creator and like a musician and rapper, and people really judge you based on your life experience. And I just remember, like, I've been to all 50 states and 20-some countries, and I remember I literally would not leave, like, this part of a block. Like, you know what I mean? I was just very much a creature of habit. And I just remember, like, I know that I could lock into anything. I just remember, like, it was, like, after 9/11, I was just like, oh, my God, you know? Did drugs every day, like after that one moment. And then I could be like, okay, now I could like work out. And then I like took that drive, and then I started running marathons. And I was like ran my 8th marathon. I got my menorathon. And I think the hustle piece definitely, like, I just love selling things. And I remember I was like really into the games of that, and I would go on adventures with this addiction. And then I just took that and I applied it to my music career. And like I would go into and it's extremely odd to think like, was there anything good that came from it? God bless you.
Thanks.
But I think the hypothetical questions is like, we all now have the ability to create our own story and our own legacy. And we all have a story. And a lot of people feel left out, especially people that are born with a lot of privilege. And I think we all have some level of privilege, right? Like, and a big part of me, like, using and selling and all this stuff was because I felt like I had, like, I didn't feel like I fit in. So to really get to the core reason of why I was using is like, I learned more about who I am because of why, like, I used, because, like, the addiction was there, so I realized what I was going through, you know what I mean? And it's a amazing hack to like learn that in your 20s while other people are still like navigating, because you know some people get sober and they're 35, and I'm like, what a great. I always say to people, hey, I'm getting sober. I'm like, how old are you? And they say their age. I'm like, that's an amazing age to get sober, Because if you're 22, amazing age. If you're 17, amazing age, right? I'm sure you feel like you're left out, but like I did all done. 30, amazing age. You just got out your 20s. 40, amazing. You just got out your 30s. All the bullshit. You can still get married. You still have kids. 50, perfect. You live first half of life. Now you got a second half of life. There's always like a great time to get sober. And then you realize, you learn like what the pain that is that you're hiding. So I think that's the best fit, because we all got to have pain, right? We all have our family issues. Like
Everyone's got baggage.
Everyone has some baggage, man. I think that's it. Like, I don't know if I didn't learn like how to knit or something. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, I don't know, like that,
Yeah.
But, I mean, I did like start speaking Spanish a lot, and I was, I learned Spanish from like age 12, and I remember like just being high on drugs and freestyling for a year because I didn't have the capability of writing. And I became like a big freestyle artist, but I remember not writing raps for a year. And then I became like a bigger freestyle artist years later, and I did develop these sort of like zone out things in my brain. But, I don't think I was a good person. I think I was a piece of shit, and I think that wasn't me. That became because of, the drugs, and it's way I realized I'm just a selfish person that goes through a lot of pain. And, the best way to take myself out of the pain is to be of service to other people. And that's taken me years to learn, even while being sober. And the only reason why I'm so much like a hustler, go-getter mentality is due to the fear of not having enough. And you're never going to have enough. That's what I'm saying. If you make 100 or 200, and the person that I knew that I just got the news that he killed the guy that killed 2 people and he killed himself. He was making like 3 times the amount of money I was. But look what, like,
it was never good enough.
Like, that's a lot of money. Like, let's say $1 million is a lot of money. What are you doing differently if you live in New York City with $1 million or $100? You're still going to go to a cafe where all the creators hang out. There's a bunch of people on their MacBooks. You could be on the phone. You're going to get a jog. You're going to go get some babka from Bed's Breaker. Like, there's not much different things you could do. I could also go to a nice Italian restaurant, spend $300 if I feel like it.
You say Bread's Bakery for the babka?
Yeah, I was just there. Yeah. So I was just like, that's a shout out to them. But, like, you're still going to go on a running.
Get them to pay for that.
Yeah, no. They're going to be like, why are you drinking Dunkin'? Yeah. I said, we support independent business now. But it's really hard to imagine, like, the difference between, like, as I said, back to this, like, what I really take from it is that I'm selfish, and that the cure to my selfishness and self-seeking behavior is through service and being giving to others.
So you've turned it into something very positive, which I think is a really, really strong lesson for our listeners to see how to channel, first identify, and then channel that into something that you reach, you feel satisfied with, you feel is fulfilling. That's huge. I give you a lot of credit for doing that.
Thanks.
But then you go back to being selfish. Is there something you really regret looking back at your old self?
Yeah. Even just, when you realize that once you get sober, your problems aren't fixed. And I realized, me being selfish, my fear of like addiction, like also it delved into food, drugs, and sex and money and finance. And finance is a huge driver of like a lot of things, right? Everyone's like, I got to do this. I have work. I can't get sober. I have work. I have a job. And you're like, bro, like I'm really trying to tell you, like, where this will take you. $100,000 job, like, if you get sober, you'll get another one. Like, if that was, or you're making 200, like, trust me, everyone has these stories, and I realized that, like, I've ruined relationships based on self-seeking behaviors while sober. So, just as you ruin them when you're stealing and getting over on people when you're using, not everyone has that. I mean, a lot of people, are using and they're doing just fine and they're not stealing. But that's what I was specifically doing. And I'm like, man, if I just had a little bit more faith and really worked on that area of my life, knowing what it is, like, the only thing you could do is I really would like that to never happen again. And the only way you could cure that is by being selfless. And selfless doesn't mean you need to give $1,000 donation to a charity. It could literally be like someone asks for money to get, coffee for 50 cents. And like, it's definitely the mitzvah concept of tzedakah in like Jewish life. And it's like there's a question that says, what's more important, giving $100 or giving $1 100 times? And to cure the addict mindset, we need to give $1 100 times. You know what I mean? Because it's a daily reprieve. It's a 24-hour-a-day program. It's not 365 days, and you get 1 year, and you get 2 years, and you get 3 years. It's a daily reprieve. So for me, it's a daily reprieve, and that's how I have to live. And you eventually, when you literally change your life, and those people come back into your life that you really offended or felt that you took advantage of them, they'll be more understanding to, part of your amends process of like how you navigate. And that's like over the course of 21 years. It's like it took me a really long time to realize that. And because I thought everyone had something against me. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, dude, that's like the problem. Like once you get sober, you realize it wasn't the drugs and just getting off drugs. Like you have issues. That's why you did drugs in the first place.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean?
An incredible story. I thank you very
Thanks,
much
man.
for sharing it. I'm confident it'll be an inspiration to our listeners.
I hope so. If you didn't get anything, just only watch a little. He probably has other good videos. There's someone else.
I appreciate that. We're glad you came. Great to have you on the show. Hope to have you back here again soon.
Thanks, man.
And to our viewers, thank you for joining us. Please join us again.